Good evening, guys. How are you all doing? Hope you're well. I'm sitting here with none other than Shane Kirk. He is the sales manager for Pricecheck. He also has quite a story to share with us. He has quite an exceptional journey, and so we're interviewing him tonight to see how he got to where he was, what he went through to get there, and for him to share his story with us. So, as always, we start with the catchphrase. So, Shane, what is your catchphrase, and why is it your catchphrase?
Thank you, Kelsey, for having me. Good evening, everybody. My catchphrase, old cliche, stems from the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort states that I've been a rich man and I've been a poor man, and I choose rich every single time. The reason for that being is when you arrive to face your problems in the back of a limousine with a 4,000 Rand suit on or a $40,000 gold watch on your arm, it just makes facing these problems a whole lot easier. And the reason for that being is I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man. And I've been a lot happier having money than not having money. So I think that's how I got into sales at the same time. It's making sure that I earn or write my own paycheck. And in that mechanism, when you are depressed and you haven't got money, it's a lot easier, or a lot more difficult to face life. But however, when things are going bad, then you've got some money, I'm a lot happier. I think that's the feel and end all of it.
You were joking earlier and saying something about if you have a broken heart, it's way easier to be rich and have a broken heart than to be poor. Because if you're rich with a broken heart, then you can buy yourself nice things to make you feel better.
No, look, I think in today's day and age and the society we live in, we all go through the stages where we have retail therapy. And that retail therapy we go through is sort of, I've broken up with somebody, or something's gone wrong, I've lost my job, whatever the case may be. You're going through a bit of hardship at the moment. And we go out, we entertain ourselves, a new pair of shoes, a new haircut, a new pair of jeans for you ladies. That pants makes my bum look fantastic, and you just feel better about yourself. And having money allows you to do that. The problem doesn't go away. Don't make a mistake, it doesn't go away. However, people say money doesn't buy happiness. I'm going to show you a liar.
It's an interesting perspective. I know that everybody has their own perspective on this and they have their own take on this. But can you tell us about what you're referring to? I mean, you say you've been a rich man, you've been a poor man. Can you tell us about those
Yes,
times?
sure, by all means. So, look, I lost my mother when I was very, very young. I was 16 years old when this happened, a long time ago. And I then had to finish high school. When I finished high school, I went out and needed to find a job. I had nothing, and there was no income coming in. So I walked through Stickland Industrial Area for 2 days, and I found a job as a diesel mechanic apprentice. I was earning 350 Rand a week. My board and lodging was 250 Rand a week. I walked from Buddhas to Stickland every day and back just to be at work on time. So I've been poor, and I was miserable. And I was able to work myself up and earn some money and get a bit further in life. And through that mechanism, I understood that money can buy happiness. It sounds very wrong, and it sounds that I'm very superficial, but that's not the case. It's life is just so much easier when you're earning a decent, stable income that you're able to support yourself and your family. And if you haven't got that worry, life is just a lot easier.
So can you tell us, how do we become rich men and women, Shane? Tell us about what you currently do and what that involves.
I'm not rich, don't get me the mistake, but I'm comfortable in my life. What that means is that I currently am a sales manager for 2 different teams for Pricecheck. I look after our cost per click sales as well as our advertising sales, and we are Africa's leading cost comparison discovery platform across e-commerce.
Sorry, he's under the table with the camera's jumping.
Sorry, my apologies. So yes, we are Africa's leading e-commerce platform in terms of price comparison and product discovery, and we obviously drive traffic through for our various merchants that are on our page, assisting them to grow sales, conversions, and ultimately grow their businesses.
It's a fantastic business model, especially in our country. I mean, we've got so many entrepreneurs in Cape Town and South Africa. I think it's a great platform for anyone to come on board. But without sounding like we're advertising, Shane, can you tell us about the process of becoming an online store? Becoming an e-commerce store. I mean, what do you need to do? Where do you start? I mean, I've got, say, for example, I've got this great idea. I see that something's trending, in first world countries, and I think it's going to come down in South Africa because that's normally how it works. So I noticed a trend. I've got this idea, but I don't really know anything about digital, for example. Like, where would I start?
I think the most important thing for me is following your passion. Whether that be a product or service, you have to really be passionate about what people want and what you want. So the service, is it your time that you're offering? Is it a great quality product? Is it a niche product? You need to do some market research. Look, BI in today's day and age is essential. Business intelligence, understanding your target market, who you're targeting, why you're targeting them, is of vital importance. And following on from that, we also need to understand what is it that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But most importantly, you've now got this great product, you've got this great service. but you now need people to come to your website, and that's where players like Pricecheck play such an important role. Is you have the store. How do you get that product in front of eyeballs? And that's where Pricecheck comes in. You list on our site. We drive traffic for you. Excuse the punt, but we obviously have 2.4 million unique subscribers on our platform every single month. So these kind of people have intent to purchase. They're looking for products. We assist you getting that product out of people's eyeballs. If you're offering a unique service or you're offering great customer service, your differentiating factor in your life is that nobody else has your product at your price, for example, or nobody offers your product, or you have exceptional customer service, or you have a free delivery option, whatever that is, whatever that speaks to the consumer's mind. That is what we try and assist you to drive your business and grow it. I have one of my clients who actually came on board with us. I won't mention names. I haven't got the permission to, but to give you an idea, they came on board 2 years ago on the Black Friday deal, and this launched their business. This was actually just a project they were launching as assisting a friend to get rid of some stock that they had when they were closing down a business, and they brought it onto Pricecheck, and this then launched this individual's business, and they're now running and creating volumes of revenue every single month.
That's fantastic. So just to sort of recap on how to start an online store. So I've got a product idea, I've got a product. I think the first place to start is getting a website.
Yes.
It's very, very easy. You can build one on Wix, you can build one on WordPress, you can do it yourself or get someone to do it for you. It's quite affordable, it's not that expensive. Website and online presence, obviously, start with a website, then get your social media channels going, and then the plugins are actually very, very easy to get. You just download a plugin. WooCommerce, there's a couple around at the moment. It's really that simple. You get the plugin, you plug it into the back end of your website, and your site becomes a shop. You can then start advertising, and like Shane was saying, there's lots of channels to advertise on. And it just happens to be that Pricecheck also is one of the platforms that Shane currently represents. Can you tell us about your role at Pricecheck? I mean, you're a sales manager. Can you give us some insights into what it takes to be a good manager?
I hope I'm a good manager. So, I think the best people to answer that question would be my staff. For me, I have an open door policy with my team. So I like to get to know the individual on a personal level. I think that is crucial. Understanding what drives the individual. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's service excellence. For some people, it's, I just got to make it through this month. I need that paycheck, You need to understand the individual. And each individual is different. And I like to think that I have that relationship with my staff where we can sit down as friends and we can communicate. We can talk about things openly and honestly. It's not a question of I'm their boss and they have to watch what they say around me. I have literally an open door policy, and they can say it as it is. They can swear, they can shout, they can scream, they can cry. That's what I'm there for, to assist them to be the best version of themselves that they can be. And I think if I'm not doing that, I'm failing. So my role entails obviously oversight. It revolves around strategy for the company, what's best for the company in terms of how do we maximize profitability and what is our new sales goals and strategies for the next fiscal. So a lot of it has to do with planning and strategizing and ensuring that we maximize profit for the business. Obviously, sales is a rands and cents game, but from the human side of it, I like to think that I can be very approachable, and I like to ensure that my staff are happy. I believe and I think that Richard Branson said this as well. He said that the most important people in your business is not your customer. The most important people in your business is your staff. If you keep your staff happy, they will make your customers happy. And I believe in that ethos. I believe in that ethos because if I make my staff happy and they are happy and they want to come to work and they are, it's not like, 5 o'clock, I've got to get up, I've got to go to work. I'm happy, I'm at work, I'm vibrant, I'm enthusiastic. That carries. It carries in your voice, it carries in your demeanor, and that really does generate a happy place to work. And once you have a happy place to work, it carries to your clientele. People want to do business with you and makes your business successful, and both businesses in our business grow.
Can you tell us how to be a good salesperson? So the team that you manage, what makes a good salesperson? What would you say are some of the key tips you could give us?
The most important thing about being a good salesperson is drive. I can't teach that. Anybody who wants to be a salesperson, I can teach you to sell. That's the easy part. I'll write you a script. You can read that script off, and probably 5 to 6 out of 10 times you'll sell. No problems.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is I can't teach people to pick up the phone. I can't teach people to approach the next client. That is something that you're either ingrained with, whether that be from circumstance, whether that be from hunger, whether that be from passion, or just a drive to excel in your life and be something better than what you were yesterday. That I can't teach. One of the greatest things that I feel I've achieved in my life is one of my colleagues that I work with today. When I met her, she was somebody who was afraid, but she had drive. She really was. She wasn't afraid to pick up the phone. She was just afraid of people. And I said to her, I'll teach you. if you want me to teach you, I'll teach you. And she listened. She took really every single thing that I've ever said inside, and she understood it, and we went with it. And today she's the number one salesperson in my company nationally. So it really is something that I'm really, really proud of. It's something that means that what I've said has come true, and I've made a difference in somebody's life. And if that's all I do in my career, then I think it's a career well spent.
I can also say that by working closely with you, not necessarily under you in your team, because advertising was a separate thing when I was working at Pricecheck, but I often would observe you and see how you actually managed each and every person individually, as an individual. You wouldn't take the blanket effect. And it's almost like, I hate to use this as something to refer to or something to compare it to, but it's almost like when you're raising kids, you've got to understand each child as an individual, and you can't really take the blanket effect with them. So you've got to understand each person as an individual and manage them accordingly. And that's actually where I saw a successful sales team being built, and it was just incredible.
I think from that point of view, I think there are certain instances where you have to have a blanket approach. But that's according to company policy and procedure.
Yeah.
But within those confines, within those boundaries and that set framework, there's so much room to maneuver that you need to, and as I mentioned earlier, is you need to understand the individual at heart. You need to understand that this makes person X tick and this makes what person Y tick. And, for some people, you get a response by being rah, 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 naughty boy.
Yeah.
You get the reaction. But for some people, you're just going to get the opposite reaction. And that's not what you want. You want to build somebody who has faith in you, trust in you, and the most important thing for me is, and my team know this, I go about accountability. We all make mistakes. We all, excuse my French, fuck up. It's the crucial matter of it, And so what I've said to my team is, if we fuck up, come to me and say, boss, Shane, fucked up. That's cool. I can deal with that. What I can't deal with is I didn't do anything. There was complete shock.
Yeah, take responsibility.
The more you are not getting to the bottom of things with me, the harder it is for me to fix this, because the more lies they get told, the more we don't say, this is what happened, that's the truth, the harder it is to fix. Because now all of a sudden the client's saying this, you're saying that. How do I fix that? So my team know, something comes across my desk, I say, guys, what happened? They're like, boss, well, this is what happened. And I'm like, fine, let's sort it out. One of these things happened today. I won't go into details. Obviously, I'm bound by confidentiality. But the staff member came to me straight up and said, sorry, man, this is what happened. We fixed it. Half an hour later, the problem that was festering for 2 or 3 days that my team couldn't solve was solved in half an hour. There was no action taken against the staff member because we understand. But that builds trust. They trust me. I trust them. I can leave my team to do whatever they need to do, and they know that I've got their backs no matter what.
Yes.
So yeah, I think for me it's twofold. You have to blanket certain things, but you need to work in those confines of the blanket to speak to individual people's needs.
That's awesome. And Shane, who inspires you and motivates you? Do you have any role models? And if you do, why? What about them inspires you?
I've had a few throughout my life. I've been really blessed to be surrounded by very successful, very intelligent, very motivated and driven people. One of the very first people that made a major impact in my life was a gentleman by the name of Gary Burrows. He was my sales director at Groupon. Prior to me joining Groupon, I had about 14 years worth of sales experience, all face-to-face, so I understood buying signals, I understood hard closing, presumptive closing, I understood all of this, and I was able to do it easily. People starting to touch and feel products. I got you. So it's very easy to close business like that. I then moved into a cold calling environment, something people have been telling me to do for years. I just never did it because why do I want to? But I felt at the time in my life I needed a challenge. I needed a change, and I walked into Groupon very cocky, very arrogant, and I came back to earth with a very hard thumb. With a very, very hard thumb. I was the worst salesperson in the company for about 3.5 months. So I couldn't buy a sale. I really couldn't. It didn't matter what I did, I just couldn't buy a sale. And about 3.5 months later, Gary came to me and he said to me, you can do this. I don't know what the problem is. I said to him, Gary, I feel like quitting. I feel like quitting every single day. And he's like, why? You can do this. I know you can do this. And like I said, 3.5 months later, I don't know, everything just changed and I shot up the ranks and I was always number 1 or number 2 in the country from there, So that was really, really something that meant something to me. It was his interaction with me. It wasn't just a case of being a sales director. I'm a sales manager, So he was a couple of steps up. He was part of the board. Somebody from that level who just believed in me. Yeah. And really taught me a lot about sales and how the sales mechanisms work when you're not necessarily face-to-face to people. So that was of crucial importance. The other person locally in South Africa was my current GM, Chloe Lotto. From an operational point of view, from a management point of view, from sort of growing and defining myself as a leader these days, I've learned a lot. She's been a wealth of information, a wealth of support, somebody who's believed in me as well, but really allowed me to sort of grow another skill set. I've been great with people my whole life. I've been great with doing sales, but I've not necessarily always had the best managerial skills. I've always been pretty blunt and straightforward, and sometimes I've had to take a few things with a pinch of salt. So, I've had to tone it down a little bit, but she's been a great influence. And then somebody internationally that I've looked up to is a gentleman like Richard Branson, who I mentioned earlier, where he said that the people that make your company successful is not your consumers or your clients, but your staff. And not just that, here's a guy who's completely dyslexic. He was a guy who at 16 years old dropped out of high school, and I think he started 17 or 18 businesses before he launched a Virgin. And today he's a multi-billionaire. He still believes with the same ethos, and he's not an arrogant guy, but he understands that perseverance is of vital importance, and pushing through and achieving your goals is set out by a predetermined a plan that you have, and how hard do you want it? How badly do you want it? If you don't want it that bad, somebody else wants it more than you, they're going to get it. And I think that really speaks to me about Richard Branson, is that sort of ethos, that he understands people and essentially what makes people tick.
Yeah. That's great. It's actually like you were saying earlier, it's all about resilience and actually going for something that you want and not giving up and just pushing through. That's imperative. It's imperative. Shane, just one last thing. Is there any advice you could give our audience if they're in a sales position or if they're in a sales managerial position? Is there any advice you could give them?
I have a lot of advice. This could be a long conversation, but I'll stick to some basics for me. Most salespeople don't understand that all sales is a numbers game. It's a process. You need to follow that process. You need to understand that process is every single day. You need to follow it regardless. Whether you hit 130% of your target, 140% of your target, you're preparing for the next month. Follow and trust in the process. You're going to get days and weeks where you're not going to make a sale. It happens to everybody, even the best of us. You're going to struggle. So follow the process, trust the process. Go to work and maximize the 8 hours you have in the day. Out of 100 phone calls you might make in a day, you're going to get 95 no's. That's guaranteed. You're going to get 5 yeses. And out of those 5 yeses, every single time you get no, you're just one no closer to your yes. So get through this first 95 as fast as possible. And something that's come through from somebody else in my life, a lady by the name of Cindy Levendal, she always used to say this to me: the best time to make a sale is after you've just finished one, because you're on a high, your energy levels are up, you're happy, you've just made some money, make another one. So from a sales perspective, those would be my advice. From a managerial perspective, get good people. Understand those people. You can teach people that are teachable. You can't teach people who are stubborn, hard-headed, arrogant, and who don't have drive. And for me, when you're doing an interview to employ sales staff, for me, it's not about where have you been, what targets have you met, how often have you met those targets. That conversation means nothing to me. I could pull out stats from my past where I've done okay, but have I done the best of my ability at the time? I can honestly say no. I've had to learn through time what is required of maximizing and getting the best out of myself. And I've learned through those experiences as a manager that drive is the most important. I would rather hire somebody that is working 3 jobs just to make ends meet than somebody that's sitting around earning 30,000 Rand a month. The reason for that being is the person with 30,000 Rand a month is earning great money and he's feeling comfortable in his life because life's not that difficult. However, somebody who's earning 11,000 Rand a month, but they're working 3 jobs just to do that, proves to me that person is hungry. They want it. So I'll give them an opportunity because they want to be somewhere in their life. Yes. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in terms of management is finding that hunger, finding that hunter, finding somebody. They're not dime a dozen. There's a lot of people out there who are order takers, as we used to say in waitering, but salespeople, real, true-blooded, hunting salespeople are so hard to find. But if you ask them questions around motivation, perseverance, what drives them, you'll quickly understand who they really are and what they're going to bring to your company.
Geez, well, Shane, I feel really motivated right now. I could go out there and just smash a couple of deals myself. So thank you so much for joining us. It really has been a pleasure. We really appreciate your time, and I'm sure that there's so much we can all learn from this. So thank you for sharing your journey with us. your experience, and for giving us some extra motivation.
Thank you for having me, Kelsey, guys. I hope this has been useful. If it hasn't, listen to the next one. I'm sure there's somebody a lot more intelligent and insightful than what I am out there. But thank you for having me. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.